Hi, uh, this is Hima. Today I'm going to present a presentation for the USB Trojan horse for security attack. Based on the paper, I will introduce the paper background a little bit. The paper was published on 2016, uh, written by these authors, mainly from University of Illinois, and one professor from University of Chicago, another person from Google. Here is the overview of the paper. So it's basically an USB attack experiment in the Illinois University. Uh, it dropped hundreds of USB over all the locations on campus and see how the user handle the USB they picked up and if they are vulnerable for the USB attacks. It turns out this turns out that there is a very high success rate of the USB attack, uh, lowest from 45 percentage. Um, After that, they also did some surveys and gathered some ICBIS results, uh, which is a result taken in another paper so that they can compare the results with another paper also about the USB attacks. And from this paper, we can see that this old school attack is still very valid. It's a reminder to the security community to be cautious about this kind of attacks. And also, I gave some further thinking and at the end to add on to this paper. So here is a quick overflow of how a USB driver can attack a user. Usually, at first in the USB, you will have already have some malware or some malicious files in the USB, and when you plug in USB to your machine, it will be either auto run some program, or it will be when you click and open some files, the malware and will run and uh, put some data or some program into your computer, so that later on when your computer has internet access, the malware can transfer the data or get the encrypt credentials, things like that, and pass it to the hacker so that your data is lost or you have some financial risk on it. The question is nowadays we know that our computer system, OS system are more secure than before. So is USB malware attack still being considered as a real threat in today's environment? That's a question we need to answer by this paper. So here is the experiment details. They plan to drop about 300 flash USB drivers over the university and track the opening time of the USB driver and discuss the opening rate of among all the drivers. Uh, they tracked it by an image tag in the HTML files in the drive. So when the user opens any HTML file in the driver, uh, there is an image in that file, and if they have the Wi-Fi access, uh, it will trigger a website URL to download the image. So that if you put some program in that website server, you can track uh, who downloaded that image, and so that they know who opened the files in the drive. So we can take back for like 10 or 20 seconds to think about that. If you walk on the street and in the university and you find lost USB on the street, what will you do? What are you going to do with it? Will you open it or not? Will you scan any, like do any precaution scanning virus before you open it, or you will just open it? Can think about it. So here is some interesting quick results. So after the experiment, they found it's pretty faster than imagine. The first USB, the fastest one is opened in 6 minutes after they drop the USB, and it takes like 7 hours for most of the USB to be opened to be plugged into any computer. For motivation, I think the main two motivations are like the user try to locate the USB's owner. Some user are just out of curiosity to do that. And based on the results, there are three main types of security they take. Some users just take no precaution; they just plug in the USB and go over the files in the USB, and some scan the virus, which is good. Scan the virus before opening the USB, and some others just believe on the whatever system their computer has. Believe the system can protect all the potential attacks from them. There is anecdotal evidence that people think user will people will just plug in the USB they find. Uh, so this is a very popular topic on the social engineering area. This paper is also like try to uh, prove if this anecdotal evidence is true or not. Here are some demographics about the experiment. So first about the location, they pick up the 30 locations on campus, parking lot, classrooms, common areas outside. So they put very various location, different types of locations. They choose five types of appearance. We are introducing the next slide. Uh, and for the timeline, they choose to drop the USB in morning and in afternoon. So if we calculate the total amount, 30 locations by morning and afternoon in a day, and by five different types, so total minimum is about 300. So in the experiment, they just put around 300 USB. Uh, so there are five types of appearance. They try to find the difference results. Like if there is a different results, if we have a key, have a written label on the USB, if it's labeled confidential, if it's labeled exam solutions. I think that's one is very appealing. Uh, so from the result, we found that there are two main motivation. Like one is from the altruism, they try to find the owner. Another is self interest, either by to getting the potential profit for themselves, or just out of the curiosity. So in the driver, we put three different of contents. One is as just behave as a personal USB. There will be personal contents in it. You can see from this image, there are some like personal pictures interbrick, and there are some other notes and files, but all the files are in the HTML format. That's because they want to track if user open the image in it. I think this is a kind of a weird thing to some user, because if you are familiar with the format, you will see, for example, this doc file, the the file format is should be docx, but you will also see a .html after it. And for the image, it should be .gpg, but you also see .html after that, which is very strange to me. It also contain a server link at the end of each HTML file. So after you open the file, you already know when they open the file, and but you want to know more details about the reason they open, who they are. So they include a survey link so that user can complete to provide more details about themselves. And this USB experiment did not run any code automatically, so it has to be user to click any files, open any files to trigger the tracking. And they also have two different other contents. One is like a business mode, and another is contain the some similar like examine solutions files, exam content, but all of them are HTML file. So you have to open the file to track that user open the USB. So for the survey, if you complete the risk attitude survey, you will get a compensation. In the survey, they use the Survey Monkey, which is a popular online survey platform that you can create any survey on it, and get the statistics when the users finish the survey online. The survey including many aspects, including demographics of user, affiliation, previous knowledge on the USB attack, motivation of opening the files in the USB, uh, also about users' computer expertise, risk attitude, and internet usage. They also sent the same survey to 600 random people in university before this experiment, to build a baseline for the survey results. So in concludes, the for all the participants, which are like 297, there are 135 opened one or more files. So which is percentage is 45 percentage, and 290 was removed from the locations. So that's where we get the 90, 95 or 97 percentage. And among the people who opened the files, 77 did not opt in the survey to provide detailed data. So we only know they opened the file, but we don't know more details about those people. So here are some results from the people who pick up the USB drives. So we can find basically from these lines, from the percentage line, it's almost 40 to 50 percentage that drivers are opened. There is not much difference among these numbers. The only one I think much different is if you have a written label on the USB, it will decrease much percentage of the files open, which makes sense because people which open file because of the author reason, they already know where to return the USB, so they don't need to plug in the USB and find any information. So that's where the percentage drops, I believe. This is the like timeline, like a real time lag time statistic of the when the USB are opened. We can find that no matter in the morning or afternoon, both are very quickly. Afternoon is a little more quickly than morning, maybe just because people's schedule in the morning more busy, so they don't have to dig into it. So I think this makes sense. And here is the tracking of what the files are firstly opened by the users. It's very interesting. We can find that in these two, written label and the non-type, people also open the many personal pictures. That's what we think people are from the because of the curiosity. They open the files in the USB. Some others they open the resume. We think they are trying to find the owner, find the information from the resume, so that they know which are the owners. And here are some statistics on the other factors. First one is the operating system. It's a normal, I think it's normal ratio. Windows are very high, then it's Mac, then it's Linux. And for the browsers, about half of the users use Chrome more than browser. Some other people use Firefox, IE, Safari. Um, and over 50 percentage of people they return the drive, they want to return the drive, and some other people from the curiosity, and there are a few people they just want to keep the drive. So and for the precaution, we can find from the experiments that most people still did not take any uh, precautions. Over 50, over a half of people didn't do that. And for the people who did the precautions, we can find for the universities people they do various of the security prevention precaution, which is good. So the paper also compared with some previous paper, compare the results. We can find this is the results from the previous paper, and this is the results from this paper. Uh, because of the participants are different, so we can find that it's actually the students or the people in the school, they tend to have lower financial risk, but they have a much higher recreational risk than the financial, which makes sense. And that's all can also influence some results for this experiment, because the USB plug-in action is regarded as a recreational risk. We also compare the ICBI's results with the previous Eggman and Peer study. And we can find an interesting result is that in this experiment, users tend to have more various security knowledge than the previous paper. That also makes sense because the people in the university tend to have a younger age and more internet knowledge, computer expertise knowledge than average people. So in conclusion, in the paper, we get four main conclusion. One is that anecdote for the user will plug in USB rather than find is true. And many people believe their computer will protect them from attack, which is like yes and no, because nowadays computer system and the computer are more complete than more advanced than old times, and they indeed can provide many attacks from malwares, malicious applications, links, websites, emails. Uh, but I believe it will not protect user from any attack. And I will also prove that less technical attacks like USB malware can remain become still a security concern nowadays. And we do need to develop better technical defenses for this kind of attacks. I have some further thinking based on this paper. I think the paper did very good experiments and get reasonable results for the USB Trojan attack. I think one thing we need to consider is in the experiment how we track if a user is how we regard a success attack is by user opening the HTML file and in the file if they have the Wi-Fi they will download an image and from that image we can track if your user opens the USB. But this is I think this workflow is a little different than a virus. If there is a virus in the UIB in real, there may be some auto-run program when you plug in the USB, or it can be user opening some files, but it may not need an internet connection to trigger the malware injection. It can just automatically copy the virus program into your computer, and later on, when you have internet access, they will activate the virus to do some actions. So the workflow is actually a little different from the experiment. In the experiment, it has to be uh, you have to connect with the internet so that they can get your results. And also another point in the experiment is that the students have very low financial risk. Say even their computer get hacked, they don't need to worry too much about the money loss, property lost. And I think the experiment in the paper is good, but they didn't provide many information about possible solutions or what we can improve to help prevent this kind of attacks. And here is my conclusion for the whole study. So I found that the old school attack is still very effective. It can be either a simple USB plug-in copy files, and it can be a email attack links. You click any links in the email, and I found people trust too much on computers on the systems itself. They believe the system will protect them from all the attacks, which is not true. And people currently still do not have enough precautions of this kind of all kinds of cyber attacks. So which leads us to know that we do have more social engineer security work we need to do. We need to improve the security level, and we need to provide more ways of protection for people. Uh, I think this is also a requirement for the renovation. When we develop the new hardware, we develop new protocols in the networking. We need to be cautious. We need to put an eye on the security issues. Because when we develop new products, new things, it may surface more security holes. And we need to, for example, on the new OS system, we need to think about how to prevent the auto-run malwares. We need to put more security checks in the system. And also like for the internet wise, we use the internet protocol like Wi-Fi, WAN, LAN. We need to implement more complete security rules on that, because you can think even, for example, even user use a USB copy, uh, even they plug in USB and malware get copied to their computer, but the point they really get attacked is when they connect, the moment when they connect to the internet. So if we can implement some checks when user first connects to the internet, that may help prevent the attacks as well. So that's all. Thank you.